Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Ferry Project Cookery School. And we're here to do another cookery demo, and this time we've gone all sort of summer and beach time. And this is a really good one to do with children if you've got them at home on summer holidays and it's hopefully the sun's shining and we're thinking of beach time. And we've got two dishes. So we're going to do some fish goujons, so a little bit like fish fingers, but homemade thinner goujon fish fingers. We're going to put them in wraps and we're going to make some tartar sauce. And we're also going to do some sandy feet biscuits and beach towel, stripey beach towel biscuits. So two fun cooking things, but with a little bit of nutrition in there as well, which I'll talk about as we go through. So we'll start with the biscuits, because we need to get them in the oven. Then I'll move on to the fish. And I'll just mention, while we're waiting for people to join, we are a homeless charity. We have a cookery school here and we run all sorts of food events. So if you're free on September the 6th and you're near Wiz Beach, come and see us because we're holding this amazing festival with over 15 food stands and street food stands and live music, and we'll be there doing cookery demos and cheese tastings and bread and all sorts of other things, so come and visit. Right, so we'll get started because we need to get the biscuits in the oven. So really simple biscuit mix, and we're going to start by putting some butter into a bowl and some caster sugar, and we're just going to cream that mixture together. Tray near me, and I'm just going to I am using butter. You could use other spreads and fats, but butter just gives it a nice rich flavour, and it also helps to hold together the mixture as well, because we're doing it into shapes. We don't want it to spread. So just cream that together. The easiest way to cream a mixture is to use the back of your wooden spoon and to almost squash the butter into the sugar using the side of the bowl. So it'll never work if you just stand and stir it. So use the back of your wooden spoon and just keep scraping and scraping until that sugar starts to disappear and it's been incorporated into that butter. Right, about there. I'm going to add an egg. So obviously if we're making shortbread, we wouldn't add an egg, but I want the egg in there because I want the egg to coagulate as it heats, and then that will help to hold the shape and stop the biscuits from spreading. So I'll just incorporate that. And now I'm going to add in some flour, so some plain flour, 250 grams plain flour. And I'm also going to add in a little tiny bit of vanilla essence. You could make them lemon flavour, you could put in a little bit of lemon zest, or you could make, chocolate versions and make them into all sorts of different shapes and sizes and have a good old play around with them. Going to get that all mixed in, so it will gradually just become a biscuit dough. And we're going to make them into stripey beach towels and sandy feet. But you could do all sorts of other things. You could really have a real creative art session with them and make them into yachts and beach balls and any other beach thing you think of. But these are also really good. The rest of this recipe I use all year round, depending on, we can do Easter things with it, we can do Christmas shapes with it, birthday type decorations on there. Right, now for the final bit, I'm going to just get my hand in there and form it into dough. Last bit of butter in. Okay, so that's all going to come out nicely into a ball. a little bit of flour in here, which I'm just going to put there to help stop it sticking. All right, so don't, persevere if it keeps just falling apart a little bit. Just use your hands. Your hands are warm. It's going to soften that butter and help it all to stick together. So there's my ball of biscuit dough. As I say, I could make that into all sorts of different shapes and sizes depending what I'm doing. So I'm just going to roll it out now, not too thin. And then I'm going to cut it into shapes and square it off. Square it off. I can still use these bits I'm cutting off. I'm not going to throw them away. And I'm just going to do a couple because I have got some that we've made already. So we're just going to cut it into rectangles. Obviously, these can be as big or as small as you want them to be. Let's make it that big. So there's my beach towel. And then I want some tassels for the beach towel. So we're just going to make a few cuts in there for the tassels on this side. And then that's going to go on. So I've just got a baking sheet with some greaseproof paper on it. So I'm just going to put them onto there. And then for the feet, I've started with a rectangle. I'm just going to cut a curve around like that, just to make the heel. So that's the heel of my foot. And then I'm going to cut 5 toes. So a slightly bigger one for the big toe. And then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So cut there, there, and there. And then I'm just going to curve off the toes so that they're curvy at the end. And then I'm just going to crimp it in the middle to make it look a bit more foot shaped. And put that on the baking sheet. And then use the rest of the dough to make lots more beach towels and feet. And we're going to pop those in the oven. So you will use all your dough up. I'm going to use mine again a bit later on. And next we're going to start doing the fish goujons. So I've got my white fish here. You can use any white fish. So I'm using some basa fillets, but you could use coley, you could use pollock, you could use cod, you could use haddock, any type of fish that you particularly like. I'm using this because it's really delicious. We use this in quite a lot of things that we make, and it's also quite economical as well. So we're going to set up a production line. So exactly the same method as making chicken nuggets, really. You could do this with chicken, but because we're at the seaside, we're doing fish. So we're going to have pieces of fish. We're going to cut it into strips. We're going to put it into the flour, into the egg, and into the breadcrumbs. So we've just used some white bread, made it into breadcrumbs, and I'm just going to put it in a little bit of parsley in there as well, and season it. And you can season your breadcrumbs as well. You could put paprika in, cumin in, chili powder in, depending on what sort of flavours you want. I'm just going to put a little bit of parsley in there. I'm also going to season my breadcrumbs. I'm going to season my flour as well. Get lots of lovely flavour in. A little bit of salt. A bit of a mix up. Crack my eggs. You have to not mind getting gooey fingers for this, because your fingers start to look like fish goujons. Okay, so we're just going to cut the fish into slivers, into strips to make our goujons. I mean, you could do this if you were doing this to serve as a dinner. You could do big pieces of fish like this and have fish and chips with it. So I'm just going to cut slightly on the diagonal of the fish. So we've got these nice strips. Right, so we get quite, and then you can serve this in all sorts of different ways. I'm going to serve it with some wraps. So it's sort of, imagine sitting on the beach, picking up a fish wrap to eat, because you can eat them hot or cold. Just with the egg and the beet. So when you make fish goujons or, you know, chicken, if you decide to do it with chicken, always start with flour, because you know, the fish or the chicken is a bit wet. If you just try to put it straight in the breadcrumbs, they're just going to fall off. If you just try and put it in the egg's going to just gloop off. You need to put it in the flour, which soaks up the liquid, into the egg, and then into the breadcrumbs. And then that's going to go onto a baking sheet. So I'm going to try and be quick and do a couple at once. Into the egg, into the breadcrumbs, and onto the baking sheet. Okay, so I'll do a few. It's quite good if you have enough egg and breadcrumbs left after to just go back and give them a second coating. And you can change your breadcrumbs as well. You could use all white. We've used all white. You could use sourdough. You could use panko breadcrumbs. You could do a mixture of white and wholemeal. Gives it a nice crispy, crunchy outer. You bite into it, and then you get the really soft fish in the middle. I'm going to do one. Let's do another couple. I've got plenty. See what I mean about my fingers? They're turning into fish goujons. Into the breadcrumbs, onto the baking sheet. And then I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of oil over the top. Move my mess out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to drizzle a tiny bit of oil over the top. Not too much, I don't want to make them greasy, but we just want there to be enough oil to help that crispiness. Okay, another little bit of seasoning, a little bit of sea salt on the top, and they're going into the oven for about 10 minutes. Right, move this out of the way. Wipe down my fish mess. And then we're going to make a tartar sauce to go in the wraps with the fish and prep some salad. So obviously you can serve these in all sorts of different ways. You could serve them with wedges, chips. You could make, I love rice, so I quite like making rice salad with lots of different vegetables and things in. But we're going to serve ours with a wrap. So that, because we don't want it dry, it's quite nice to have a sauce in there. You could just use mayonnaise, but we're going to jazz it up and make it into a tartar sauce. So I've got some mayonnaise in here, and I'm going to add in some capers. So capers are gorgeous. They add that real burst of flavour. So you don't have to add as many in as I've added. You could add a few less, but they really help give that pizzazz of flavour as you bite in. Also going to add a little bit of gherkin. So I'm just going to cut that up quite finely. I'm going to cut it into lengths, and I'm just going to go along sideways and just dice it up a little bit. We'll also put some parsley in, and you could put all sorts of different herbs in, depending on what your preference is. But parsley, parsley traditionally goes with fish, right back, way back, Tudor times. You're having parsley sauce and fish. So some parsley in, and I'm going to put in a little bit of spring onion as well, to give it a bit more of a pizzazz flavour. So just really, really finely chop that up. You could put red onion in it as well. Red onion is quite a nice sweet and gives it that extra depth of flavour. But I'm going to put some red onion when we build the wraps. Just cut that up. So it's looking beautifully green now on top there. And I'm going to put a little bit of lemon juice in. Squeeze. Just stir some of that in. And spoon, and just give that a stir around. Look at that, it's going to be so nice. What we'll do is spread a little bit on the wrap and put our fish on the top with some salad. Good stir. Probably put a little bit of pepper in as well. And I don't want to use too much salt, but a little bit just to lift the flavour a bit. And probably just should taste. Don't be afraid to taste food. You need to know adjustments if you want to get balanced differently. Oh, that's got a really good zing to it. Oh. That's ready for our fish. So while we've got the brown board here, we might as well prep our salad. So I'm using small wraps deliberately because I sort of see this as taking it into the garden or taking it off down, wrapping it all up really well, taking it off down to the beach and sitting on the beach and eating it, or sitting in the garden. So we'll end up rolling it. And I just want small ones because I don't want a great big mammoth one. I want room for a biscuit as well. So we've got some salad. So I just went and picked this from our vegetable patch. I've got some cucumber, I've got some tomato, and I've got a bit of red onion. So what you have to think about when you fill a wrap, so just like if you're making fajitas and things like that, is you've got to be able to roll it up without pepper poking out of it and it breaking the wrap itself. So we want it quite small. So I'm just going to take a piece of cucumber and I'm going to cut it into sort of cucumber chips, I suppose. And I'm just going to do a little bit of dice. Oh, cucumber smells of summer. That's really good. Right, I'll do some red onion. And I'm going to do this, I'll probably do, so it's always easier to cut a red onion then peel it, rather than try and peel the whole thing, because then you can get your fingers under that bit where you've made a cut already. So we'll just peel that off, just a bit easier. And I think I'm just going to have very thin slices of this, but when you're making something, think, how do you want your dish to look at the end? There's no rules on how to cut and how to present. It's how you want your dish to look at the end. So I'm just going to do a few slices of red onion. Just separate them out a bit. So that when I come to build my wrap, Everything's prepped. And then I've got some cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to do those as little tiny segments. You could slice them. You could use a whole big tomato and have sliced tomato. I'm just going to have little wedges of tomato like this, because I want like a nice chunk of tomato to bite into. Right, so that's that prepped. So we'll put this here ready with our tartar sauce, ready for our fish when it comes out. And we're going to go to the biscuits again. I'm going to check the oven, see what's happening. Biscuits are done. So biscuits are out, but I've got some over there that are good. And the fish is doing really nicely. Turn it down a little bit. Right, so biscuits. Let's cut my tubes. Right, so I've got some biscuits here actually that we made this morning ready, so that we didn't have to wait for them to cool. And you can see how they've come out. We've got some really lovely feet. So here's our feet. We're going to give the feet nail varnish. And then we've got some beach towel biscuits. We'll put some stripes on. And we might write sea and sun and sand and things like that on. So whatever colours you want, I'm using these icing pens that you can just buy in supermarkets. Just taking the nozzles off. I'm going to use some red and some green, some blue. Should have a yellow one really, for sunshine. Right, I'm not a cake decorator, so I'm not, it'll be rustic looking. Let's go for some red nail varnish. So we're just going to go around the edge, just fill it in, and then I'll just do a teaspoon. Doesn't really matter what type of icing you use. You can use, we've done these before with ready roll icing as well, and then we use glacé icing to stick it on. These work quite well. So some red nail varnish. It'll take a bit more time than me. I'm in a bit of a hurry. And let's have some different colours than the others. We have a green one. Okay, so these are our sandy biscuits. We'll do another green one, and we'll do a blue one. And obviously you can really jazz up the nail varnish if you want. Do some beautiful nails. Some blue. Okay, so there's our sandy feet biscuit. Right, while I've got this here, let's just do a stripy beach towel. So we're just going to go around the edge. Obviously, there is no rule to this. You can be really artistic in your design. And jazz your towels up as much as you like. You can draw pictures on there, do sunshines. A bit of red in there, like that. I'll put a bit of green in there. A really jazzy towel, so you don't lose it on the beach. You can see it a mile. Okay, so that's that one. Let's write, oh dear, I'm brave, doing a bit of writing. Let's write C. And if I had a yellow one, I'd probably do a big sunshine. Let's let's turn that into a jersey one. Okay, so there's our seaside biscuits. So I'm just going to put them to one side and come back to them in a minute when we present. Because I need to look at the fish. Yeah, looking good. Move this out of the way. That smells lovely. So, what we're going to present onto is this, because I just thought it was nice and bright and colourful. Nice and classy. So, what we'll be doing is getting the fish out. I'm going to make myself a bit of space here. So we can do this now. So we're going to spread on a little bit of the tartar sauce. And obviously you can just use mayonnaise. If you really like ketchup, you could use ketchup. We'll spread some of that on. Then we're going to put on a little bit of the lettuce that I've just been out and picked. So this is really good because it's like a meal all in one. You've got your vegetable parts, so your salady bits to help towards your 5 a day. You've got your protein from your fish. Fish is really good protein, low fat, high protein, easily digestible. And you've got your wrap as your bread, and it also works as a plate, so saves washing up as well. So a bit of cucumber on there. Put a few tomato wedges on there, and I'm just reminding myself it's best not to overfill, which is probably what I'm doing, because otherwise you try and roll it up and everything comes out. A little bit of onion. I mean, these are really nice. You could serve them without rolling them up. You put them on a wooden board. They look stunning, just like this, because of all the lovely colours. Put a little bit of herb in there. Look at those lovely colours. Okay. Oh, I can sizzling away. It is lovely. Okay, so we're just going to lay the fish goujons on the top, like so. I'm going to leave that one open because it just looks so cool. So I'm going to put these facing the same way because I've got to try and roll the wrap up. That. It's quite nice actually if I've got one. Squeeze of the lemon out. As well. Try not to get the pips in. A squeeze of lemon. Oh, lovely. And so then we're going to roll it up. I'm going to put the bottom in first and then pull the sides in. Because if you just roll it up and pick it up, it will all fall out onto your feet. You don't want that. So bottom up first and then roll. And then I'll put that one in there. Do the same with this one. Probably put another bit of fish in there, actually. Bottom up, roll it in from the sides, be quite tight with it. And like that. And I'll roll this one up as well. Beautiful. We've got that. We could serve the extra mayonnaise in case somebody wants to dip the end of their wrap into it. Put that one there as well. And then we've got our biscuits to put on there. Parsley over the top. So let's have our feet sticking out. And our stripey biscuits. Okay, right, brilliant. I hope it was drizzling here earlier. I'm hoping it stopped raining because we can go outside now and munch on our fish wraps and our sandy feet biscuits and our stripey beach towel biscuits. So all the snack that I need now for the rest of the day. So thank you for watching. Remember that we have this food festival on September the 6th. You can come, we're actually doing hands-on cookery workshops there as well, so you could come and actually make some pizza faces with us. And we also have our own cookery book. All proceeds from this go to the homeless charity, so everything goes to help fund and aid the homeless people in Finland, and it's available on Amazon as well as directly from us. So if you come to the food festival, you can actually buy a copy directly from us. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll be back again in a few weeks.